Hi, this is Katie, and welcome to this mini lecture on Chapter 2, Installing Windows Server 2012. So in our previous chapter, we set up our systems. We learned a little bit about how Windows sets up different or has different variations of servers. What we're going to do in this chapter is our installations and also work with our core server and some features on demand that we're going to use. Why this is a mini chapter is because I have some other videos for the different activities that we do, so you'll be watching some other videos that explain some of these things more in depth. So this chapter introduces you to the server installation process, both for the GUI and the server core installs. We're going to learn how to use the server core install and discover the advantages, disadvantages of server core. And finally, we'll use some features on demand via the network share, as well as remove features from an installation to recover disk space. So that's the ideal of this chapter. Now, I don't think I want to go through the PowerPoint because you guys can read and go through that. But the main topics in the book as they begin, the first activity is installing the server. So now you have your iOS. We have our VM station set up. So what we're going to do in Activity 2.1 is go through the installation of the full server. We didn't really do this with our last setup. We didn't create administrator passwords, but you will do this, and there's a video on, you'll do that with this section, and there's a video on that. So I won't go through the things, I don't want to repeat things. So all of the activities in this chapter are things we're going to do. So that includes installing the server, setting the time, date, and time zones on server, setting static IPs, testing network connectivity, changing the computer name and the work group, configuring a Windows update. These are important. If you're familiar with Windows systems, they do updates all the time. So these are important, so they'll automatically update the changes and the patches that come out. So we'll learn how to set that up on Windows Server, especially if you're using the CD from the book or even the download. There's probably some new patches out there, so we'll have a little bit of time. We'll have to have some additional time to update the patches that have been released by Microsoft, but we'll learn how to configure it so that we can always do that. The other activities. So those are the main activities with installing your primary server, Server 1 and Server 2. Then we'll go on to Server Core, and again, I have videos that will show you how to do all of these. And what you're going to do here is use the command lines to run some of these server activities, such as restoring command prompt, setting the time, date, and time zone, setting an IP address, and configuring a firewall, and using ping and server updates. But when we do that part of the chapter, it's all in the server core. So you'll have the hands-on part with Windows Server 1 and Server 2, and then the core for the command line. It's important to know both. Some of the other important things in this chapter are listed in the PowerPoint. Now, what you'll find when you're reading this chapter is it's mostly activities. So that there's not a lot of things other than, there's not a lot of additional explanations other than the activities. So that's another reason why this is just a mini lecture. The topics that you do want to pay attention to, though, are performing a clean installation, This talks about making sure there's nothing on your system before you install it. Now, I've already gotten emails, and what you don't want to do is install anything over your primary operating system. So don't do that. Use Visual or use VMware to put this on there. There's a list of post-installation tasks that you'll want to address. Actually, I think I have, instead of looking at this PowerPoint, go to my files real quick. These are the things that we're going to address in this chapter, and the things that you want to pay attention to. So you have these lecture notes are out in Blackboard. Am I on chapter 2? Yeah. Okay, so performing a clean install, post-installation tasks, is expanding your network, upgrading your Windows Server, and you can read through this file. And then with the server core, things that you don't do in the GUI part of your installation or your configuration. So when you're reading the chapter, if you need more explanation on anything, I would recommend that you, let me go back up to here, you read through these lecture notes, because it kind of pulls everything together in a nice organized way if you don't prefer the PowerPoints. So I know this is short, but like I said, there's 3 additional videos that I've made for this chapter that you're going to watch as you do the activities. So thank you for listening to this one, and have fun installing your servers.